Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fox 5 on Fox Local. I'm Alex Whitler. It's great to be here with you all for our news conversation. We are live streaming to you, not just here on the Fox Local app for your smartphones and TV devices, but we're also on fox5atlanta.com, our Fox 5 Atlanta TikTok, and even, as always, live on our YouTube channel. That's what makes this a conversation. So please don't hesitate to leave me a comment if there is a story that resonates with you. And we've got lots of them to talk about this hour. So let's jump right on in now, shall we? You might remember yesterday, we were breaking this news of Palmetto Elementary school shooting. A woman was shot and killed just yards away from this school. Thankfully, she had nothing to do with the students themselves, but gosh, it was a really scary situation. We brought this to you live as breaking news on Fox 5 News at noon, but we've now learned that the victim has been identified as Eboni Anderson. Now, police haven't publicly discussed a possible motive, although I did hear rumblings that this must have been some sort of domestic situation. They also haven't detailed the exact relationship between the victim and the suspect. But we did also learn the suspect's identity because he's been taken into custody and jailed. Christopher Ates was arrested in Fulton County following a high-speed chase and a car crash. Again, to fill you back in here, a woman was shot and killed just yards away from Palmetto Elementary, triggering a hard school lockdown. Some students were bused to other schools, and parents were frantic, trying to make sure their child was alive, hoping that this wasn't the latest school shooting. No students were involved in it, and 550 children were safely evacuated to the nearby school. So that's something that we're staying on top of for you because, yes, we know this woman's name now, Eboni Anderson, but we want to know who she was. What did she do? Who is she left behind? How are her loved ones remembering her? Those are all questions that we're working to get answered for you this hour. Next up at 11:02, we want to talk about another serious situation. At least 9 people have been killed in a mass shooting in Canada. Would you take a look at these images? This is something that is not common for Canada because we know they have very strict gun laws. So again, to walk you through the basic facts or the nuts and the bolts here, 9 people have been killed, dozens more hurt after a shooting at a school and a home in northeast British Columbia, Canada. This happened yesterday afternoon. So the Royal Canadian Mounted Police said more than 25 people were hurt in this. But apparently a woman who police believe is the shooter was also found dead, they say, from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Again, school shootings are incredibly rare in Canada because their gun laws are just that strict. So I can only imagine how this community is feeling right now. We're talking about the town of Tumbler Ridge. This is in the Canadian Rockies. It's about 1,000 kilometers or 600 miles, as we are familiar with here, northeast of Vancouver, just to give you some perspective. And of course, as soon as we learn anything else about a motive, why this suspected shooter might have gone into the school and shot 9 people to death, we'll be sure to update you. Another big story that we're following is a local one. So I want to turn your attention right back here to the Atlanta area. Many of you are familiar with Villa Rica. Well, there was a SWAT situation, and I'm hearing that this also was a domestic incident. So I'm going to read you some of my notes here. Police say that shortly after 9 p.m. on Tuesday night, Villa Rica police were called to a residence on Cypress Lane off of Hickory Level Road for a domestic incident. Again, I'm quoting them directly here. They say a male allegedly pointed a handgun at his girlfriend in front of her children after a verbal altercation. The woman and her children made it safely outside, but the suspect is Solomon Villa. He's 38, from Villa Rica, and had barricaded himself inside that home. A perimeter was set up around the home. Of course, that's coming from the initial responding officers, while Villa Rica police and their special response team and a number of the Carroll County SWAT team were called to help in. So during that standoff, neighboring residences were evacuated, and negotiators continued to speak to Villa Rica off and on via phone, all trying to convince this person to surrender peacefully. Again, I'm reading the notes from police here, so if this sounds a little bit clunky, that's why. They say that while waiting for a search warrant to be signed to allow officers to enter the residence to detain Villa, he came out unarmed and ultimately did surrender to police. So you're looking at some of those direct quotes there on your screen as well. Another big story that we're following this hour is one that's coming out of Fulton County. If you've lived in Georgia for any significant amount of time, you know that there's been a lot of talk about the 2020 elections, even though it's now 2026. So there was a raid last month in which the FBI removed 700 documents all related to that election. And now an affidavit has been unsealed. We know why the FBI was there. So many of you might have guessed what this was about, but now we have official confirmation. So the FBI is investigating intentional acts that might have caused discrepancies in the county's 2020 election vote counts. So again, on background, agents seized 650, 700, maybe more boxes containing original physical ballots, digital images, even voting machine records. And Fulton County officials characterized this unsealed allegation as recycled rumors and conspiracy theories. Now, of course, there is this 20-page affidavit that we were waiting to get some more information about. Essentially, it says that the court documents show the FBI interviewed numerous people who have questioned the legitimacy of the 2020 election. You're looking at some of those documents on your screen and aerial footage of the day that the FBI descended on the Fulton County Elections Hub. Now, there's been a lot of talk here about how Democrats are going to respond. You know, Fulton County is considered a very blue county in Georgia. Some people argue that the state has become purple in recent years. Well, today, Georgia State Representatives Syra Draper and Tanya Miller held a press conference to address the FBI raid on this elections operation hub and what they consider to be the deeply alarming search warrant affidavit that was forcibly unsealed. So we did have a photographer who was live at the press conference, and they did send us back some video of what they discussed. So let's listen in together.
When the federal government seizes original ballots from a certified election 6 years later, the facts should be specific, they should be timely, and they should be unmistakably clear. Right now, serious questions remain about what conduct, by whom, and within what legal time frame justifies this step. And those questions deserve straight answers. Let's just put this on the bottom shelf. There was a full hand recount. Every paper ballot was counted. The totals matched. Old administrative problems do not become new federal crimes. The affidavit's theory is that even if the outcome was correct, which it does not challenge, someone may have acted intentionally in reference to one of these administrative concerns. But let's just be really clear here. Probable cause requires facts that a crime was committed. It is not a possibility. It is not a maybe. It requires specific facts. It means that real facts are tied to a real crime. Maybe is not the constitutional standard. So let's talk a little bit about timing. Our system of justice has time limits for criminal charges that protects everyone from open-ended investigations of old events. This election happened in 2020. We are now in 2026. So it is entirely reasonable to ask, what specific act occurred within the legal time frame for which an appropriate pursuance of a federal charge or a federal crime exists?
Okay, everyone, we're going to keep you posted on any further changes in this unsealing of this affidavit. We know that there's been a lot of eyes on Fulton County ever since the 2020 presidential election. The president has maintained that he won that election, and that is essentially what we're seeing in this case. The FBI now looking in to see if there was some sort of fraudulent activity. Democrats maintain there has been no evidence of fraud in this case. Let's now turn our attention to Arizona, where the search is on. It's a desperate one to find Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for almost 2 weeks now. There have been several videos coming from the family begging for the person who has taken her to come forward and say, look, we're the ones who are willing to negotiate with you, as there's been a ransom notice that was put out. But we'll touch base with one of our reporters, Caroline Elliott, who's in Arizona a bit later this hour. I do want to focus now on something that's happening on Capitol Hill. Pam Bondi is testifying. The Attorney General is there in front of Congress as we speak. You can see her turning over her shoulder, consulting someone. So far, she's been asked about Jeffrey Epstein and the latest on her handling of the files that may have exposed private information about survivors despite those names being redacted. That's something that I keep seeing on my social media. People have lots of questions about this, and they say that it just doesn't make sense. There have been billions of documents related to the late financier Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, we recently learned that authorities were trying to investigate, once again, his ex-girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, but she ended up invoking her Fifth Amendment right, saying that she pled the Fifth, I should say, saying that she didn't want to testify or say anything that could be self-incriminating. So the Epstein files are going to be a big talk, I would imagine, in that hearing. Now, she could face, of course, in this case, I'm talking about Pam Bondi here, other questions from lawmakers as this goes on. We do want to listen live if we can.
Familiar with that investigation.
Mr. Chairman, I would just add, we're highlighting these miscarriages of justice in the previous administration. This is just another one of those small examples, no different than the Catholic Diocese in Richmond and many others that you have retold so many times. But here's another instance of what they did to a small town and nearly bankrupted them as a result of it. Fortunately, there was a federal judge that saw through it and has fixed it. I want to move on to fraud enforcement. You have established a National Fraud Enforcement Division. Is that correct, Madam Attorney General?
Yes, Congressman.
Has this new division begun any investigations and getting after those individuals that have committed the rampant fraud we've seen, like in Minnesota?
Well, it's not only rampant in Minnesota, it's rampant throughout this country. Much of it is in California, as you know, and other places. Yes, we are working on it actively. Our criminal fraud division has been working on it. We are expanding that. It was the Vice President's idea to come up with this amazing separate fraud division, which we are establishing and going nonstop, not only to expose the fraud in Minnesota, but around the country. It's taxpayer dollars that have been stolen from the American people, and we are committed to recovering that money and holding those people accountable.
Mr. Chairman, I would remind everyone here, why did this happen in Minneapolis?
Okay, you were just listening in as Attorney General Pam Bondi testifies on Capitol Hill. She's going to continue to be pelted with questions here on a variety of topics. I am looking in our chat on TikTok Live to see what kind of questions you guys have for us, as this is a news conversation. So if you see a story that you care about, that you're curious about, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the chat. For now, I have a question for you guys, as I've been doing this 11 a.m. stream for a little while now, but I'm curious as to who's watching. So is it that you're able to work from home? Is it that you're retired? Let us know, how is it that you're able to watch and what kinds of stories you want to see here. That said, let's go ahead and start talking again about Nancy Guthrie. I was trying to communicate to you guys that there's been a ransom notice. That deadline expired. Still no word of where Nancy Guthrie is. It's my understanding that we do now have Caroline Elliott, who is in Arizona for us. She's been following the very latest on this desperate search to find the Today Show anchor, Savannah Guthrie's mom. Caroline.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, we have a lot to break down here as there's been a lot of activity in southern Arizona over the last 18 hours or so. But the latest update we have is that law enforcement did detain someone yesterday and then release them just a couple hours after. We do know that this person was in the, again, southern Arizona area, just north of the border. And Fox talked with this person directly. He told us that, again, police detained him. They said that he took their phone and he was asking them all kinds of questions about where he had been, questions about Nancy Guthrie. And he told us that he told police he had no idea really what they were talking about. And he said he didn't even know if he had ever been to this property. It is worth noting that the person that was detained was described as a delivery driver. So again, it is very possible he's been all over southern Arizona. It is possible he's been in this area, but he seemed quite confused on why police were pulling him over. So again, at this hour, it looks like investigators still do not have a suspect in this case. And at this point, they're now just going through the thousands of tips that are now coming in. Alex.
I can imagine there are a lot of them. I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it is surreal to see billboards with her face on it in Albuquerque, El Paso, cities that I've frequented before. So it's fascinating to see this search effort in that area. And of course, as I'm sure you've been experiencing, Caroline, the Southwest is filled with just desert land. So I'm curious, in the neighborhood that you're in, is it that there are large plots of land in between each home, or is it like a typical neighborhood?
Yeah, Alex, well, as you mentioned, the landscape here is quite unique, and you would have to imagine this is a tough search area for investigators to go through right now. This is a very dense area. Yes, it's residential. There are some empty plots of land, but in those empty plots of land where there's not property, there's these dense bushes, again, that could be really, really easy to hide in. So we know investigators looking all over this area now. We know that investigators actually went back to Nancy's daughter Annie's house yesterday, and they were going door to door in that neighborhood. It looked like they were conducting a search in that area. So it looks like as of right now, investigators are leaving every possibility on the table, looking all over, not just Arizona, but you mentioned also those billboards now out of the state as well.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking to know that the Guthries are still dealing with this. Thank you for the latest, Caroline. We appreciate it, and we will check back for the latest on this story as soon as we can. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge those of you who are in the chat. I see you guys did respond to my question. Some of you said you do work from home. Some of you said you're watching while you work. You have an understanding at your job that you also want to get the news. So we are honored that you are getting it from us. Thank you for your time. Stay with us because we are not done keeping you informed. We still have to talk about Brave spring training. That should be a fun one right after this. back to the stream, our news conversation, Fox 5 on Fox Local. I'm Alex Whitler. Thanks for being with us. Let's talk baseball now, shall we? The Braves are returning to the field, but I've got to say, day 2 of the spring training camp looks a little bit different out of Northport, Florida this year, because that top step of the dugout is no longer going to be a regular place for a familiar name. Instead, we've got a new face stepping on in. So for the first time since 2016, someone other than Brian Snitker is calling the shots as new manager Walt Weiss officially takes the reins. So we've got Fox 5 Sports' Justin Felder, who is live at Cool Today Park. It looks good out there. I was seeing Victor Prieto on Good Day Atlanta earlier today, and I was like, man, that sunshine must feel nice. So rainy over here in Georgia. Hey, Justin.
Well, good morning. Yeah, right now we got a little cloud cover, so not trying to brag or anything, but it's real nice right now. It's getting into the 70s today. I'll take a little shade. I can take the hat off and go easy on the sunscreen for a moment. But yeah, a beautiful day 2 for pitchers and catchers working out down here at Braves Spring Training. Quick note before I show you what's going on the field. You mentioned no Brian Snitker in the manager's seat. You're absolutely right. But Snit's still here. He's running around in a golf cart. He's talking to everybody. He's shaking hands. He's answering questions. So still a fixture here, even in his first year of retirement. Not relaxing by the beach, still exactly where he's been for about 50 years. Let me flip the camera around and show you exactly what's going on right now. We are live inside Cool Today Park. I'm actually going to lower my voice a little bit and get you closer down to the screen here behind home plate as players are taking batting practice right now. This is happening live here in Northport, Florida, on Florida's west coast, as some guys are getting some swings in off of coaches pitching, getting in some swings, getting loosened up, even if they're here at spring training earlier than they have to be. Pitchers and catchers, they have to be here right now. Position players showing up early to get in some extra work before they're officially due here over the weekend. Now, one of those players who is here early, Ozzie Albies, the standout second baseman. We talked to him in the Braves clubhouse this morning, got his take on the team, on Walt Weiss, on his expectations for the year. Here's a little bit of what Ozzie had to say when we caught up with him earlier today.
Clubhouse will fill here in a few weeks. There's some new faces in the mix. Walt taking over in the first year. There's some old pieces, but also some new pieces.
Yeah, definitely great. Walt, I'm excited for him to be the manager. I mean, we always, when the whole team likes him. He's a great guy, on and off the field. You can always talk to him. And the new faces, I already met most of all the new coaches and players, and they all seem to be, excited to be here and fun. So definitely looking forward for a great season.
Ozzie, how important was it for you to get down here yesterday? I mean, Walt seemed to be very, very appreciative of you being here and getting the work in early. How important was that for you to show up first and be here with him?
Oh, definitely important. You set the tone for the guys and show them that we all care and we all want to, win again. And that's why everybody's here already. I think the whole infield is here already. So definitely special.
You know Walt much better than we do. We're seeing him in this new role. What makes him special that you've seen over these last couple of years, and why will he be so successful in this role?
I think it makes a big deal when you play the game and you know the game, and he knows what you go through and all that stuff, and he managed before also, so I think he's gonna be just fine. He's definitely gonna do what he got to do.
What's it like seeing Snitz right around on the golf cart?
It's awesome. We talked yesterday, and he's like, I think over 50 years I wake up and I'm not like, this is weird. It's not. I don't have to worry about baseball. It's something else. It's something different. But it's definitely special that he's around, and you can always go talk to him, and he's watching us work out like he did yesterday. It's very special moments.
You mentioned all the infielders here. How about Nacho doing behind the plate? Huh?
I saw that yesterday. I didn't know anything until I saw him. So me and him talked, and I told him, hey, you got to do what you got to do, and always keep your head up and be positive.
Do you feel like you have more to prove this year? Like last year was kind of an up and down year for you. Do you feel like you have more left in the tank that you want to show people?
100%. Yeah, just go play and do it all again.
What are your thoughts kind of on the balls and strikes, this automated system with behind the plate with the ump, and that you guys can challenge now and all that?
I heard, because I'm a short guy, it's going to help me with the pitches the pitches on top. That's what I heard. So I'm excited about that part for sure. No, I think it's definitely great because sometimes you're in a situation, let's say bases loaded, 2 outs, came on the line to win it, and you get called by a pitch way out of the zone. You can challenge it and, win the game. I mean, winning is everything end of the day. It doesn't matter how it happened. So I think it's going to be, in certain situations, it's going to be great. Yeah.
Back here live in Northport at Brave Spring Training, you heard Ozzie Albies there talking about the new challenge system for balls and strikes. That's going to be something that's new in baseball this year, where if a player, whether they're a batter, a catcher, or a pitcher, says, I think the umpire got that one wrong, they can challenge the call. It's limited. You only get 2 wrong challenges per game. But hey, if you're right, if the umpire is having a bad day, you can keep correcting those calls with the help from the robotic umpire. Now, I'll tell you one other thing about Ozzie Albies as we flip the camera back around. You know, super tight with Ronald Acuna Jr. Acuna was, of course, surprise cameo in the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show. We asked Ozzie, one, did you see it? He said, yeah, of course. We said, did you know? And he said, no. Ronald said, I got some traveling to do. I got some stuff out on the West Coast. And then Ozzie said he turned on the TV. He saw on social media. He said, oh, that's some business out there with Bad Bunny. So everybody having a good time with the Brave Star Super Bowl cameo here at Spring Training.
Yeah, who knew Ronald Acuna Jr. was going to make a guest appearance during the Benito Bowl? That was such a surprise. All right, Justin, we appreciate your time. Thank you. We will touch base with you really soon. Okay, you guys, we were talking about this weather and how it's probably nicer in Florida than it is here. Here's a live look outside at current conditions. You see that thick layer of cloud cover there? Clouds are moving quite nicely, though. Suggests maybe a little bit of wind, perhaps, to keep this system going. Alex Forbes is here now to give us more details on what's going on with our weather.
I'm going to shove it out of here this afternoon, and I think we're going to see some sun before the day is over.
Good. I would love to.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you ask for? We've seen the rain really begin to dissipate, and that's been as expected here across north and central Georgia. So this is Fox 5 Live Viper right now. You can see at this hour, we just have a little bit of shower activity left, basically covering up Banks County right now in the Homer area, also down towards Danielsville, and then pull this over to the west. You're still running into some showers, but they're fewer and far between from basically northern Floyd County through parts of Gordon and Bartow counties, and that's it, right? If we zoom out here, you're not going to see much else across north and central Georgia. You've got to go down into Dodge County and Eastman to find the next closest rainfall. So temperatures out there at 64 in Atlanta, 58 in Canton, 56 in Gainesville. Not necessarily going to be as warm today as we were yesterday, but still not far off, right? I don't think we're going to warm up much more thanks to that cloud cover and thanks to the humidity we have out there, 66 in Covington and 66 over in Eatonton. So there's your hour-by-hour forecast. See 65, 64, somewhere in there for the afternoon. But notice we go from mostly cloudy to partly cloudy to mostly clear later this evening here in Metro Atlanta. So that's what you call progress. Now, yesterday, I hope you enjoyed it. I don't see 70s on the horizon for at least the next 7 days. In fact, our temperatures are going to get progressively cooler. Looking for 63 tomorrow, 62 Friday, 60 on Saturday. But we've got a busy stretch of days. You got Valentine's Day, you got President's Day, and you got Mardi Gras. Translated for a lot of people, you've got a long weekend.
And I forgot all about Mardi Gras. How could I?
6 days away. Next
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Here we go.
So it's going to be sunny for Mardi Gras. It looks like I'll have that 7 day here for you in just a moment. But first this afternoon, wouldn't rule out 70s in a couple of spots, but most of us are going to be in the upper 60s. And that rain, there it goes. Moving on out, and then we are just going to be quiet and dry really Thursday on into Friday. Nothing to speak of in Georgia, nothing to really speak of across the southeast until, notice out to the west, you start to see our next system developing, parts of Texas and Oklahoma. That's what's on the docket for the weekend. Now, so the forecast, the way we see it is a rain chance on Valentine's Day at about 20%. That's going to be later in the day. I think the bulk of the daylight hours are going to be probably cloudy but dry. Sunday is trending more and more toward a washout. I think a couple of storms might even be possible, but I'm not necessarily looking for severe weather. We're getting into the time of year now where whenever we see a cold front coming through, we're going to say, okay, anything severe? This time around the answer is no, but maybe the next time the answer is something different.
Shh, don't say that. Stop it. Rebuke it. Send it. Get it out of here. We've had enough of that.
That's why we don't forecast beyond 7 days.
Yeah, I like that. All right, Alex, thank you. We appreciate it. Okay, you're taking a live look outside. Once again, this time not to get a sense of what the weather is doing, but because there has been a bit of back and forth as it relates to some flights. But we're talking about flights in El Paso, Texas, that did end up canceling flights here in the Atlanta area. So the FAA reopened the airspace around El Paso International Airport, of course in Texas this morning, just hours after it announced a 10-day closure that would have grounded all flights to and from the airport for 10 days. So I was talking with some of the producers, some of the people who make this production possible before it started, and they were saying it's like back and forth. They said, oh, just kidding. We're now back up and operating. The FAA said in a social media post that it has lifted the temporary closure of the airspace over El Paso, saying there was no threat to commercial aviation and that all flights will resume. But I still do want to give you some of what we heard earlier this morning. I remember first reporting about this around 6 a.m. with an update at 7 a.m. So it's interesting to see how this is all unfolded. The shutdown was announced hours earlier for special security reasons. They gave no further indication as to why this ground stop went into effect. And it was expected to have disruptions nationwide. If I remember correctly, it's Delta flights, American flights, any airline that was affected or actually offers flights to customers in the El Paso area was canceling all of their flights. But it really was a quick adjustment here. So the restrictions, again, were set to last until February 20th. So 10 days from now, it was going to affect commercial cargo and general aviation. But it just took a couple of hours for aviation authorities to say, we are going to reopen this ground space. It did not affect Mexican airspace, which I do want to point out here. Should we ever find out why this ground stop went into effect, you can count on Fox 5 to bring it to you. But I do want to take a quick moment to pause to tell you what we're going to be following when we come back. We're going to be talking about court cases, lots of them. Think Tara Baker, all the way back from her death in 2001. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to our news conversation. We are talking about a trial that has been a long time coming, one that involves a UGA law student who was killed back in 2001. Now we're hearing lots of testimony in this case. Of course, Edric Faust is the accused killer. He's been brought to court because of DNA evidence that was essentially decades in the making. So I've got Sam Daniel here, who is a member of our digital team. He's been monitoring this court case very closely for the past several days. So he joins us now with an update on what's happening, and it sounds like some of this testimony is compelling.
Yes, and finally, after 7 days of testimony, we are getting to the nitty-gritty of the DNA evidence. So this trial has seen everything from witnesses and the roommates of Tara Baker's to now, yesterday there were only 2 witnesses because the testimony was so in-depth.
Okay.
The first one was the detective who originally responded to the crime scene in 2001. He worked for Athens Clarke County Police, and the prosecution called him up to testify about Chris Melton's alibi. Now, Melton is Baker's then boyfriend, and we want to clarify, Melton has never been charged in a crime,
right?
But the defense is trying to point the finger at him as another possible suspect in this case.
They're trying to create some smoke here.
Yes. So we just want to clarify, never been charged, nothing like that. But they tried to get the detective to say that maybe the alibi wasn't checked out as much. That detective said it was done later in the case. And then the second person comes up, and this is what everybody that has been watching the trial closely has been waiting for. This is the GBI agent who went over the DNA analysis that came out in 2024.
Okay.
This is the DNA evidence that links Edric Faust to the case, according to the prosecution. It was his DNA and then Chris Melton's DNA that came back from Tara Baker's body. So the prosecution used that to set up, okay, this is how we got to Faust. The DNA came back because he had been arrested previously, so it was in CODIS. They then retook DNA from him, ran it again, perfect match still. The defense, though, tried to say, why did you look at my client, Edric Faust, instead of looking at Chris Melton more? And so they went back and forth for a little bit. The GBI never wavered in why they looked at Melton, but it was a little bit of an interesting testimony, so take a listen.
So in regards to Mr. Faust, we have DNA in Ms. Baker's mouth, and based on that, Mr. Faust, an arrest warrant is issued for Mr. Faust for murder. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Felony murder. Is that correct?
Yes.
Burglary. Is that correct?
Yes.
Arson. Is that correct?
Yes.
Aggravated sodomy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But Mr. Melton's DNA is in Ms. Baker's anus, and an arrest warrant isn't issued for Mr. Melton for sodomy. Is that right? It isn't issued for murder?
No.
Despite acknowledging that Mr. Melton may have said something for the past 23 years that wasn't consistent with the DNA evidence that you had on May 5th, 2024.
I don't. Was that a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. You'll have to rephrase.
Sure. Now let me ask you this way. Despite having Mr. Melton's DNA on May 5th, 2024, okay, and despite knowing his statements for the past 23 years were inconsistent with the DNA evidence that you believed you had on May 5th, 2024, an arrest warrant was not issued for him.
No.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. Do you know Mr. Melton's family?
No.
Okay, so you don't know if he's related to anybody?
No.
Okay. Does he have any family in law enforcement that you would know of?
No idea.
So just based solely on Mr. Melton, I'm assuming being Mr. Melton, an arrest warrant is an issue for his arrest.
Mr. Melton had an alibi that made it impossible for him to kill Tara Baker.
And you've been in the courtroom each and every time we've talked about Mr. Melton's alibi. Is that correct?
Yes, but I also reviewed it in the 20,000 plus page case file and multiple interviews over the years.
And you'd agree that once Mr. Melton is told that window we're in is we have to be able to explain why you are where you are just as much as we have to explain why someone else is there as well. But it's a narrow window, and it could get complicated if your window is greater than the window of expectation for how long evidence could be there. And that's what we're trying to drill down into. The further in time you are from how long this could last, the more complicated and less reasonable that explanation is. Do you remember Mr. Melton being told that?
Did I say that, or did Agent Howell say that?
Mr. Melton was told that.
I'm sure he was. I don't recall if I said that or if Agent Howell said that.
But once that statement was made, we can agree that Chris then says, if anything, it would have been maybe that Sunday, the weekend before. Is that correct?
Well, we had been talking about that the entire time because I had continually refreshed his recollection on the statement he gave 2 days after Tara's murder.
So, Ms. Bigham, my question is, after that statement was made to him about his DNA, his response was, if anything, it would have been maybe that Sunday, the weekend before. We would have done something Sunday morning before she left. Is that accurate?
Yes, he did state something along those lines.
So currently there's another GBI agent who worked with Bigham out on the stand right now. He's testifying about what all went into taking the DNA evidence from Faust. They're also expected to play some recordings of GBI agents speaking with Faust. There's been some back and forth in the trial currently about what's allowed and what's not because of prejudicial evidence. So right now they're on a break, but when they come back, we're expecting to hear at least some of the recordings that the prosecution wants to introduce.
And of course, we're trying to be respectful as we talk about all of this. But have they said anything about a potential connection or relationship with Edric Faust? We know, obviously, her ex-boyfriend, that would make sense. But has there been any sort of acknowledgement of how they might have known each other?
No, so that's been a lot of the defense's argument as well. They're arguing chain of custody with the DNA, but then they're also saying, how would Edric Faust know that she was home alone? It would make more sense for the boyfriend to know that, and things like that. So that's what they're trying to argue to cause some sort of reasonable doubt. It's expected that the prosecution is going to wrap up soon, so we could start seeing more of that defense argument play out and go from there, and possibly even send the case to the jury by the end of the week.
There's a lot of questions in that case, and I'm probably going to pick your brain about this when we have more time to do so. But I am hearing, thank you for your time, Sam, that we have a breaking update on that FAA ground stop that was happening in El Paso. So bear with me as I read you some of these notes. Apparently, the Trump administration did say that they closed the airspace because they say the Mexican cartel drone incursion was something that they wanted to consider. So just a quick update for you there. They're blaming that ground stop that would have lasted for 10 days from February 10th to February 20th that has since been lifted on the Mexican cartel. As soon as we learn more about what made them realize it no longer needed to be a ground stop, we'll be sure to let you know. But the preliminary information we're getting from authorities is that the Trump administration is blaming the Mexican cartel. Okay, you guys stay with us because we've still got a lot to talk about. We're talking about aerospace and Roswell, and then how to protect your metadata and what it is. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us for our news conversation. Did you know that aerospace is Georgia's #1 export? not a lot of people did. And I do want to point out that we're going to get a behind-the-scenes look at an aerospace company that is moving to Roswell. So let's go ahead and check in now with Chris Rosenthal, who is giving us a look at the facility. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, hey, good morning, Alex. So PBS Aerospace opened up here last year, part of that big aerospace industry here in Georgia. That's back $57 billion in 2024, and some of that right here in Roswell, one of the 800 companies or so in the state of Georgia. So I'm joined by Katrina here with PBS Aerospace. First of all, this is a Czech company that's decided to, set up here in Roswell. First of all, what is PBS Aerospace? What do you guys do?
Yeah, thanks for coming, Chris. PBS Aerospace is a 211-year-old Czech company. We're a fully American subsidiary now. We make jet propulsion engines, some of the best in the world, and they're manufactured now in Roswell, Georgia.
And why Roswell? Well, you guys are a Czech company. Why here?
Yeah, it's a fun story. The city of Roswell actually got to be a part of that team prior to my time at PBS. The city of Roswell sent a team out to start recruiting mid-cap companies, and really we focused in on the aerospace. We found a company that we knew was going to expand in the U.S., and we promised that we would let them go very fast. Mach speed. If you choose Roswell, we'll get you open in 6 months, and that's exactly what the city did, and that's exactly why we landed here.
Mach speed, yep. Literally and figuratively, landing quite literally and figuratively. Speaking of Mach speed, let's talk about what you guys do. This is some of what you guys manufacture, huh?
Absolutely. So this is our TJ40 G2. He is 8 pounds. He has 100 pounds of thrust, goes as fast as a commercial airline and upwards to 500 miles. So that is some serious power and packed in a very small jet engine. We also make the 80s here as well. Eventually, we'll be manufacturing all of them. 99% of the parts come from the U.S. and 80% from Georgia. So we're really a big part of the Georgia ecosystem now.
And when you say jet engine, what will this be? Will this use jets or what?
These
devices?
primarily go in UAVs, so that's unmanned aerial vehicles. So think drones and interceptors, things that would maybe a Golden Dome, something that would be using the Golden Dome to protect the United States. These eventually all end up in the hands of the Department of Defense.
Gotcha. So these are like these keep us safe.
Exactly.
Keep other countries
safe. We give the defense sector the ability to be very innovative because they don't have to worry about powering it. We will power it.
Can I pick this up?
Absolutely.
Just to see, that's very light. That's amazing. It's amazing something this powerful in this little box.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Out there on the battlefields now. Mm-hmm. And locally, I think probably one of the other advantages here in Georgia is you have great universities. Georgia Tech, you guys have partnered with them, huh?
Absolutely. They helped us go that Mach speed to get open in 6 months. We started hiring our techs, training them quickly, and then when they would build or assemble an engine, they would take it down to the university and get it tested in their testing facility while we were having our testing facilities built and installed here. So they really helped us move fast.
Yeah, and I was in their testing facilities about a month or so ago, and it's very, very impressive. This means jobs for the area too, huh?
Absolutely. In January, first off, we cut the ribbon in September. So last January, we had 4 employees. Today, we have 55 employees. By the end of the year, we'll be at 100. It does take a little bit of time to get our techs on board and train them, but we prioritize hiring veterans, and we love being in Roswell. Like, Georgia's a great state to do business in.
Gotcha. And so mostly tech jobs. People want to apply, just how should they do that?
They should just go to our website, pbsaerospace.com. All of our positions are listed. We actually have a lot of planning jobs, engineering, and technicians. So we are hiring for sure.
Gotcha. Well, appreciate you joining us today. We're going to hang out with you guys a little bit and get a little bit more of a look in the back later. It's just a little sneak peek here, one of the tests they've done earlier today. But just amazing that this technology right here in our backyard here in Roswell.
And amazing that it's going to lead to jobs. That's what we like to hear. Chris, we appreciate your time. Thank you. And if you guys are interested in more about this, he is going to continue to have updates for you on our streaming conversations at 2 and 3 p.m. Stay with us because we still need to have a meaningful conversation about all the private data that's found in your selfies. And I'm not just talking about location here. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be a fascinating conversation because a lot of us take selfies. We take photos. We want to get that outfit pic, right? And we might even send it to somebody just to show them how cute we look for the time being. Well, apparently there's a whole lot of information in those photos that you're sending. We're talking about location, time, type of device. It can get scary out there. So we are bringing in Harry Moggins, who's going to tell us what it is we're telling people about ourselves and our location when we take and send photos. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me. So the photos, there's a couple different types of data that is scary embedded in photos. The thing that people are somewhat familiar with now is EXIF data, which is your location. Most phones, most cameras, when you take a picture, it marks the exact latitude and longitude of where you are physically when that photo is taken. Excuse me. Modern social media will strip out location data, making it a little bit more safe. But what they do instead is they embed unique identifiers for the social network, for the software you're using, and even more detailed and specific pieces of technology that can be used to, it's called fingerprinting a user. Things like the sensor in your camera on your phone might be slightly different than somebody else's. And AI and technology nowadays is so good, they can actually piece together a unique fingerprint of who you are based on artifacts and distortions and issues with how the particular photo is taken in some cases. It sounds CSI digital forensics, but especially in a very AI-powered world today, it's very real.
So let's talk about what that means then if it gets into the wrong hands.
So tracking people is a very lucrative business these days. You've probably heard about cookies, where you're on the internet and it's, websites are asking you if you consent to be tracked. Now mobile apps like iPhones, they pop up and they say, do you want to give this app permission to track your location? It's all about tracking users and tracking people. Well, the evolution of that now is as privacy evolves and consumers have more consent and more choice, the commercialization side isn't going to go away. Companies aren't going to give up and say, oh, shucks, I wish I could track this person and sell them stuff. And they're going to get creative. And this new selfie analysis, this photo analysis technology has been around for a long time. It's now being weaponized in a commercialization sense. It's now saying, well, we can't track the person's cookies or email address anymore, or their whatever identifier their phone has. Now let's see if we can find some other way to fingerprint them, some other way to follow them across social media and the web, and then use that to more effectively target ads, which is what it all boils down to.
Yeah, I've got a lot of questions, but I'm going to boil it down to the most important ones for the sake of time. First, this reminds me of when Instagram most recently tried to Snapchatify itself, right? It does that often. But when it started saying, look, you can share your location with all of your followers, that was scary because a lot of people didn't agree to that. So is it related at all to that sort of thing?
Sort of. The difference in Snapchat and Instagram is they know your location because you give the app permission to track your location. So your phone actually tells Instagram where you are in the world. They don't need to rely on EXIF data, and they don't need to rely on the pictures themselves. Pictures are more when you post them online, and you're sharing them either you're sending them to people over insecure chat messages or message apps. Like there's a lot of heat on WhatsApp or on Facebook Messenger, things like that. Or you're circulating pictures outside of social media when you have not given them permission to actually share your location directly.
Okay, so then let's talk about how we can protect ourselves, because of course my thoughts are, if I'm posting something from the privacy of my own home, does that mean that whoever follows me is going to be able to see that?
Sometimes. So it's about taking a moment and just using as much common sense as possible, where you're saying, hey, do I need to share my location with my social media company, right? Instagram is very popular for vacation photos. You maybe post them when you get home. Don't post them when you're actively out of town, showing people that, hey, I'm out of town right now. My home address it has nobody living there, because most people, it's trivial to Google a name and find out their home address. People search sites and data brokers are everywhere these days. It's all over Google. So if they know, if a burglar knows you're right now in some other state or some other country, well, that might make your home more of a target to be robbed. So it's about being, using thinking before you post, maybe offsetting the time of when you post. And most importantly, when an app pops up and says, hey, do you agree to share your location? Think, why does my calculator need my location? Why does my weather app need it all the time instead of just when I'm looking up a forecast?
Right.
So much data is being bought and sold these days. It's just about taking a moment and thinking before you agree to share your data.
I just want to be very clear on something, not just with social media. I mean, with the photos that we're taking on our phone, when we are taking that selfie that you're talking about that has the metadata in it and posting it, does that then have a safety concern too?
It does a little bit, yes, but less so. Most major social media companies like Facebook will strip the EXIF data because they want to own the data. And what I mean by that is the photos that you submit to social media, they'll take away a lot of the embedded stuff and put Facebook data inside of it instead, because they want to control it. And that way, when you share your location with them, it's not leaking the data outside of Facebook, because they're the ones trying to monetize you. Where it gets a little bit more dangerous is when the photos leave social media. If you're posting them on photo websites, if you're posting them on your own websites, if you're sending them over email or over chat apps, when you lose that ecosystem control and the photos are free floating across the internet, that's when the risk increases substantially.
We are completely out of time, but you've been a wealth of information. I'm sure we'll have you back again soon. Thank you so much, Harry, and thank you all for participating in our news conversation. Stick around, because the news at noon starts right after this.
Now at noon, authorities identify the woman shot and killed outside of a Fulton County elementary school. We're digging deeper into who she is and her relationship to the suspect. And an unsealed affidavit lays out the reasons federal agents raided the Fulton County elections hub.
And Paul, we've got some scattered showers across North Georgia. We're going to track where they are now and how the afternoon is shaping up in your Fox 5 Storm Team forecast.
Fox 5 News at noon starts right now.
And we've got an update now in the shooting that happened just yards from Palmetto Elementary School, and it killed one woman. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Paul Millick.